Yes, it was. But I understand from the selection of those who are invited. You get the point? There are those who are invited through the card. I had an opportunity to hear the Jubilee Secretary, no, Assistant Vice Secretary General, Karibu Kostani. And he said the procedure of the parliament is that they are usually invited through the office of the majority leader, who is Amos Kimunya. So he himself did not get the invitation. But Moses Kuria was there, but he did not get the invitation. So he went, but he was not barred from getting in. So Kuria went without an invitation, and he did, and he was there. So what we are saying is, maybe if they wanted to invite, because they are readers, maybe they would have tried the direct of how Moses Kuria tried. Go there, see what would have happened. Because if Kuria was around to get in without an invitation card, it says even those other MPs from the other side, if they tried, maybe they would be around to get in.
I think JJ is important to actually, and I've said there are different people playing different games with the BBI. There are people playing politics with BBI. There are people who are in an honest look for rights of Kenyans, and there are people who actually want to do something good for this country. And I will single out the president as one person who is very genuine on the purpose of BBI.
Who is not?
Let me take you from morning. From morning, when you looked at the newspaper, everybody got, when he got to Bomas, was a standard newspaper, screaming, the headline screaming that somebody is launching his campaign.
But that could be the standard that brought those papers there.
No.
It didn't have to be the BBI organizers.
Number one.
The standard can decide to sell their papers there.
They didn't sell. It was free.
Yeah.
It was
that
free.
happens.
It was free.
Media houses do that.
And also, that was done blatantly. Because there's some people who want to make this a campaign, jack off. So they can kickstart their campaign in the level of BBI. Then there are people who want to actually have a conversation. And I will single out the deputy president, who said, actually, probably not one of his lieutenants was invited to speak.
Who?
To speak, my friend. To speak. Nobody. We didn't see a Murkomen. We didn't see a Duale. We didn't see anybody who is associated with the deputy president being given a chance to speak. But I think
was it because probably the deputy president has shown signs of opposition to the document?
This is a national document. You oppose, you are given a chance to speak your voice. This is a national document. And it will be actually the worst thing that can happen
ask you, Gitonga, because
for somebody.
The deputy president
just a minute. It will be very bad for somebody to assume just because you have views that are not proponent to what somebody else is saying, you don't deserve a voice.
The deputy president is on record as saying this document is merely for the purpose of creating positions to assuage what you would call political greed or something like that. That's somebody who has condemned the document in totality.
Not
what would have
really.
His allies
Not really. And this is the thing.
Yes.
This is the thing. I think his speech never minced any words. He actually expressed every single thing. Except one, I think that would have been important. I think we will speak about it later. He spoke about this document from his viewpoint on issues that he think would be bad. And if you list them out, you'll see he spoke about the IEBC, he spoke about the Ombudsman, he spoke about the Senate, he spoke about the executive with the inclusion kind of a thing that wasn't there. But I'm one person who is actually very keen on Right Honorable Raila Odinga and his push for this document. I think he needs to go back to his house and tell people we are going to start with our own house by being inclusive in our own house. Let us have Miguna coming back because he went away because of swearing in Raila Odinga.
Who has kept him
No. Wait.
You see,
we are talking this for inclusivity purposes.
Yes.
Let us have Miguna coming back to the country.
You're asking Raila Odinga to persuade his brother to allow
without any conditions.
Okay.
Because we are in another chapter of this country.
All right.
Where everybody is inclusive.
But you see, I don't think Gitonga see that there's people who are taking marriage because of the politics.
Yes.
You see, if you listen to the Deputy President keenly, he gave what he thought is not right.
Yes.
Right? Did he find a solution? Absolutely no. Because he's looking for political mileage.
No,
allow me to make my point.
Hold on.
Allow me to make my point. You see, okay, I understand your point.
Hold on, make your point.
I don't want to make my point.
Yes.
Because you see, Tonga, we are living in a country whereby when you want to get that mileage, you criticize the document without giving a solution. So that those who are following you, they will cheer you. The second point.
Those who stood after him, why did they?
Was his concerns valid?
Hold on.
That's a question.
Hold on.
Was
You
his
see,
concerns valid?
I'm saying this, and I want you to look in.
His concerns were valid or not? That's a question.
I don't mean to make my point,
Yes,
please.
yes.
You see,
It's not criticism.
what he said yesterday, and if you compare it to what the president said, it was very. The president would give us the genesis of where we are here, where we are today, right? And this will give the solution. That's a reader. He's not. Let
me ask you a question.
Just a minute.
Let me ask you a question because you've raised this matter. Is this an enclosed document in that there's no other view that is going to be taken? Because even the president, after standing up, his final remarks were,
Yes.
"Utapitisha hii kitu."
But you see,
I'm coming.
get me right.
Yes.
I'm saying this. If I say something is not going well, right? I will stand and say it's not. I don't think this is the way. I think we can use it this way. That's a reader. But those who are looking for political mileage, you just criticize without giving a solution.
Let me
you
ask
get the
you.
point.
No, let me ask you. No, very important because it's valid questions you ask. When you say the independence of a judiciary should not be taken away, is there any other alternative other than protecting the independence of a judiciary? I mean, what other solution did you want the deputy president to offer when he's simply saying, "Don't take away the independence of a judiciary"? Is there a solution? Is there any other solution other than protecting the independence?
He said that, That's what's in the document.
Yes.
But what should be the solution?
Come on, when you have
No, JJ. I'm saying. So if you ask me,
I want you to respond to my question.
If you ask me, I will give you a solution.
I want you to understand this so that you answer my question. We have an independent judiciary, or so we say, in the 2010 Constitution. And the proposals in the BBI, in the views of the Deputy President, are clawing back on the very independence of a judiciary. And then he's saying, there's a treacherous path we are walking. We should protect the independence of a judiciary. What is the other solution other than what he has said, protecting the independence of a judiciary?
Provide the means of protecting the independence of the judiciary. That's what I'm saying.
It's not to amend the Constitution.
No, it is.
No.
We are not going to lower our discussion.
Let me make my point. It's so unfortunate. I don't know which channel Kamunya was watching, and I want to encourage the media to start bringing subtitles so that some people like Kamunya will understand some of these things. One, when the DP was in order, he was kind of bringing out the gray areas in the document. Yeah. And I don't know, one of the things that the DP did, he did provide solution. For example, when he talked about access to justice, he did go further and urge the government to, one, increase resources allocation to the judiciary. Two, he did highlight that we don't have enough courts in this country. And he did encourage that we build more courts.
That is in regards to access to justice.
Yes. So I don't know where Kamunya was when the DP was making all these remarks.
Because he stands accused.
Let me tell you something. Yes. And I wish as Kenyans you'd look deep into what is coming from the DP. You see, the DP and the Raila, they are pouring from different sides. Understand it. When the DP stands to defend the judiciary, I can give a history of where it is coming from. We have seen a very independent body called LSK of Kenya. You don't need rocket science to know which direction they are pouring. Understand me? You don't need rocket science to understand where the CJ says this and this, and he is backed by some of these Tangatanga School or whatever. You don't need rocket science to understand. So what I'm saying here is, we have a document, we have readers who, both of them are not genuine.
They are pushing for political ends.
Both of them are looking for political mileage.
Okay.
You get the point?
He's talking about Raila Odinga and William Ruto.
You get the point?
Okay.
So what I'm saying, and this is what I tell Kenyans, we lose the benefit of this document because we are concentrating on the one side of it.
And let me ask you, that's a very fair statement that you bring on board. were any concerns raised by the deputy president legit, according to you?
They were.
Very good.
Because
So for political reasons, hold on a minute. For political reasons or not, there were legitimate concerns raised by the deputy
They were
president.
not criticism. They were legitimate.
No,
concerns.
whether criticism, maybe probably the deputy president went overboard, and that is for us to analyze. But I'm asking you, in the holes he poked in the document, whether he was doing it politically or not, were there legit concerns he raised?
I think I would give honor one about the executive. Personally, I have a problem with that.
Okay.
The executive.
There's
But
there's somewhere I want us to begin. We shall get to the executive. Let's begin. You're an upcoming lawyer. Let's talk about the ombudsman. Because the proposal in the BBI is that a position of ombudsman is created, and obviously the person to appoint the person is the president. And you must ask yourself what the work of the ombudsman is, and that's like to checkmate the judiciary in itself. Do you see a problem with that?
Let me tell you, and I think we have had a problem, not from now, even previous. There have been challenges about the judiciary in relation to the JSC, right? Now we have a problem of the judiciary with the ombudsman, because there are some quotas who are asking and who are questioning. How do you become, you are the chair of the Judicial Service Commission, and yet you are still a lawyer? So I am the one who have employed you, then I come with a case in court, I find you. Do you think I'll get justice? Most probably no. Now you have another scenario here. You have a ombudsman who will have to check about the judges, and he will be appointed by the president. You get the point? We do have the separation of powers. No. You get the point? So these are areas that we are saying they need to be critically looked at.
So you already have a problem with the setup as it were.
Of course, yes, because if the president,
you were saying the executive is the only place you have a problem.
I'm saying, you see, get me right. Because this morning I was trying to reflect, and I spent most of my morning comparing the US Constitution and the BBI, because I think we have borrowed so much from the US. And do you understand that what they have is similar to us? But the only problem we have in Kenya is that everything in Kenya is politicized.
They don't have a similar system to us. Ours is a unitary government, theirs is federal.
Yeah.
Get my point.
Our
our system is presidential as they are. That's what we borrowed.
It's a presidential system. That's what you mean.
Even when it comes to the tenants of the judges or whatever, we borrowed from the US. You get the point? But when you come to Kenya and you try to do the same thing, we borrow the rules and whatever. But when it comes to practically putting them into practice, we are not able to do that.
Why?
Because everything is politicized.
I'm still taking you on that point.
We can have
the Attorney General of the United States of America is not an appointee of a president.
I get it, but you see, we can still have an ombudsman who can be very, very impartial. We can still have that
we can have an ombudsman who is impartial.
Yes,
our problem is politics.
But what we are is we are already afraid that if you be appointed by the president, he'll act in the favor of the president. You get the point? So we are saying this: that office is not bad. We can still have the way as it is, but you make sure that whoever you have there act per the constitution.
What is wrong with this system? I'm still on you. What is wrong with the system? Because the judiciary has an ombudsman, although it's an internal process. In fact, I think it's led by the deputy chief justice, who probably also has integrity issues to deal with.
You see,
but what exactly, other than Philomena Mwilu, the personality? What problem do we have? What are the faults of the ombudsman office in the judiciary that we need to create another independent one, and this time appointed by the president?
Because maybe they have realized that the GSC have not been able to do the critical job as it was supposed to be. You get the point?
I think I would like to start by saying, my good friend, you had started with a very wrong footing.
No.
When it comes to your argument. But
no.
I'm happy now you are coming and clearing the air. And,
how is he doing
at
that?
least acknowledging
it's not that maybe Gitonga came with a fixed mind.
Not really. I'm happy that we are now. I almost said you are arguing like an idiot, but now we are on the same line.
I can never be an
Now, I want to talk about the ombudsman.
Yes.
And I want to look at the criticability of the office of the ombudsman.
Yes.
It's an office that I've seen in many countries. It has been embraced and it has worked wonders. People don't know much, but the South African president, Zuma, went and resigned because of the office of the ombudsman in South Africa. I think it's called the office of the public protector.
Yes.
And this office is not going to target the judiciary.
Yeah.
That's another thing people are mistaking. It's an office for public interest.
You see,
and it is looking at it will be looking at public interest issues that have been brought in the judiciary. Normally in Kenya today, we have the same office of the Ombudsman, and it is somewhere in Westlands. You go there, you don't see anybody coming in.
CAJ.
The lady who was chosen as the chair lady, Kajuju,
Yes.
I don't think she appears in the office to do what? She has nothing to do. So it is also good that we are speaking about this office that can be very important in this country, such that when the time comes and if we're able to craft something that will back up whatever that office will be, probably people will use it the right way. But all said, I'll say this. Number one, I am not for president choosing anything to do with judiciary. Let's start with that. Because we have had this path before where judges were actually being controlled by the executive. And even today, we can see where the executive meddles with cases specifically of some people. If you find somebody being arrested today, going to court, chini ya maji hivi kidogo, and you see these things and you can see this is unfair.
Yes.
The Miguna case, you can see the judiciary and the executive have to work quite separate so that the judiciary can actually work for the common man. Because the executive, sometimes it might not work for the common man. So I'm for a case where the choice of the ombudsman, the office is supposed to be put up by a commission, or there should be an approval from the national executive, national assembly, when some names are actually put forward.
You are advocating for a competitive process.
Competitive
that
process.
identify the ombudsman.
Whereby
But
even
see,
the public
but you
can
see-
put...
But in the end,
yes.
the person to appoint the ombudsman would still be the president.
But you see,
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Minor comment.
I would say this. Even the CJ,
Yeah.
if you look at the CJ process,
Yeah.
it should be similar to the office of the ombudsman, whereby we have a very clear interviewing process, live, people give their views, and by the end of the day, the approval, even if it's the president that is going to swear in or make sure that he has signed, it is actually a process that has been seen by people, and the integrity of that person has been actually put into question.
Let's
by the
escalate
public.
this conversation this way.
Yes.
For example, let's look at the judiciary. The Chief Justice interviews before Maraga, became Chief Justice. He was not even the ranking officer in terms of the person who emerged number one after the interviews. I think the president settled for Chief Justice David Maraga for whatever reasons. Probably he had his own intelligence. So the person who really appointed David Maraga, even after a robust interview, was still the president.
Exactly. That's what
If
I'm
we
saying.
have a similar process, the one we are talking about, a competitive process, I don't know, with reasons of integrity and issues like that, still you will have to forward names to the president, where probably you would have to pick from a pool.
Yes.
And you will pick probably even not the person who has emerged number one. Why do we have a problem with that?
The thing is, I think first we need to understand the role of the ombudsman.
Yes.
One, and which is the major one, the ombudsman is mandated to ensure that Kenyans get the best out of the judiciary, that they get justice out of the judiciary.
Yes.
Coming back to what happened with the president appointing the CJ, and having in mind the talk of separation of powers between the three arms of the government. With the appointment of the CJ, the current one, that is Maraga, it's argued that the president appointed one of the least qualified. Why?
Yes. For expediency.
Yes, there was a possibility that he went for Maraga because to show to an extent that he thought that Maraga would favor him in one way or the other, because he wanted to kind of the appointment to look as if it's a token, so that the president could influence decisions made in the judiciary.
Okay.
We have come from a history whereby the executive have been too overbearing, and judges have had incidences where they make court judgments from influences from the executive, and we don't want to go that direction. If we have an ombudsman coming from an appointment by the president, and he will sit in the judiciary, the JSC that is, and in the JSC, his vote will count.
Yes.
That implies that the executive will have a hand in the JSC, and therefore they will dictate anything happening in the confines of the judiciary. So to a large extent, we are kind of going back to the gains we have made with the separation of powers, and we will erode the what we call
public confidence
in the judiciary, and we don't want to take that route.
All right, very important point you make, Maina Kamunya, very quickly. Why did Kenyans want, when they were voting for the 2010 constitution, why was the independence of the judiciary such an important issue to Kenyans when they were adopting the 2010 constitution? And as you answered that, isn't the BBI trying to overrun the JSC, the very critical organ that deals with issues of judges and the running of a judiciary, where you would say the independence of a judiciary is vested, because you have the president having 2 representatives in the JSC. You also have the Attorney General in the JSC. You would also have the Public Service Commission chairperson also sitting in the JSC. And the Attorney General, in short, probably, the president will have 6 representatives on his side on the JSC. Would that be overrunning the JSC completely and taking away the independence of the judiciary?
Malice.
Thank you. It's very unfortunate that my brother here, Wanjohi, can give such a propagandist narrative about how Maraga became the CJ. You see, and I want to put...
you could probably tell us why.
You see, allow him to make my point.
Yes.
You see, and I said sometimes back here, if you go back to all those judges that were vetted by then, and I had this privilege to hear from the former Attorney General, and he said, when we were vetting the Chief Justice, those would be the Chief Justice, they had realized there was a problem. That those people that we were getting as Chief Justice, those were the previous Chief Justice, you get somebody because of their academic qualifications.
Under the 2010 Constitution,
yes,
we have only one former Chief Justice,
that's
with Willy Mutunga.
Yeah, that is it. But we needed somebody who will be able to follow the law as per the letter. And I said,
a stickler.
I said last time, if you remember, I said Maraga belongs to the class of judges who we call positivist.
Okay.
You get the point? These are the judges that they apply the law as it is. And Maraga have proved to be that judge.
So that is why he
from
was
the word
chosen.
go, and I will refer to my brother here to this, another judge called Odunga.
Judge Odunga?
Judge Odunga. These are the class of judges who are positivists. They apply the law as it is. And Kenya required such a judge.
Okay.
You get the point?
That is why they settled for him.
Maraga.
It's
not about that he low court fees or whatever.
Fair point.
That's very wrong.
Now answer my question.
I'm saying this, I understand, and I have heard the same from different quarters. It's true that we don't need the hand of executive in the JSC.
Yes.
Because when we have...
No, the hand is already there.
It's already
Probably
there.
you're adding weight to it.
But you see,
yes,
I think I've heard the president complain about the judges for quite some time. He have said, you know what, tunaenda kufanya muradi, tunatupa injunction. You all those things, There have been a perennial conflict between the executive and the judiciary. You get the point? But I tend to ask myself a question. If the judiciary succeeds in implementing the constitution and ensuring that people get the justice, who gets the credit? Is the president.
Okay.
So if the judiciary fails, who get to be blamed? Is the president.
Okay.
If the National Assembly is able to make laws that are implementable and are able to deliver benefits to the Kenyans, who get the credit? Is the president. So as we talk this discussion, the buck stops to the president. No matter the country having the 3 arms of government separately and acting separately. Get the point? The buck stops the president. And therefore I'm saying, let me make my point.
Yeah.
And therefore we need to understand that the president have a mandate, right? Being the head of the state and government, he have a mandate to ensure that all these other arms of government deliver to Kenyans.
I had asked you an auxiliary question, and probably that will help you in the argument you're advancing. Why did Kenyans really want an independent judiciary when they were passing the 2010 constitution?
Remember, we had come from an era whereby the president would appoint a judge, and maybe when such a president is sued, and he knows that judge is not a friend of him, he will sack the judge and replace him with a friend.
There was a problem.
There's a problem, and that way we came. If you read the Constitution of Kenya currently, it had ensured that all the judges could act independently, could think independently, could make decisions independently, because they have the tenure of office, they have the salary or whatever. The judiciary have given its kit separated from the budget.
That was an error. I want to understand your argument. That was an error that was there. You're simply saying we are past that era, and nobody else would come to abuse the very same laws we are trying to fix and abuse it.
But I think we have not yet gotten to where those who are voting for the 2020 Constitution dreamed us to be.
We have not gotten there.
We have not yet gotten there.
So does this help, or does this fix the problem, or does it return us 2 steps back?
I'm saying this. It's only that our mind is so much fixed in politics. JJ.
I don't get the politics in this question.
I'm saying it's important that even if you can get somebody in the JSC who can act and think independently from the appointing authority. It's possible. It's happening in other states in the world.
But do I take a risk?
No, hold on.
No.
In fact, there's something I want you to, because tomorrow the person who will be appointed will be an independent thinker from the appointing authority. What if you get another wrong person?
Therefore,
and what does the law fix really?
That's what I'm saying. Then we need to look at our laws, because if you have the JSC, which is an independent body, right?
Is it the law we are trying to look at right now?
We are looking at it.
Good.
But our mind was already fixed in politics.
What is the politics then?
Because you tend to believe that those who are appointed by the president can't act and think independently from the president.
And I am asking you a question. It is possible they will think independently.
Before the BBI project.
What if we get another rogue person who is not thinking independently? And you have already allowed the executive to have such powers in the judicial
I think the JSC have the mechanism of making sure that if you go against the procedure, then you are sacked. You get the point?
Maybe let me say something.
Yes.
In relation to what Kamunya has said.
Yes.
After Maraga annulled the 2017 general elections,
yes,
the president came out boldly and said that we shall revisit. And what we are seeing with the report, the BBI report, is only a reflection of what the president asserted.
Yes.
So what is happening with the appointment of the Ombudsman going into the JSC is a case of revisiting what the president said.
You see, my friend, when Maraga was narrowing the election, the GSC was as it is today.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't.
I can step
and
in here.
I will come back. Let me allow Gitonga to come in. Because there's also another question that I want you to answer as regards the justice system. So that you tell me, this proposal by BBI, what does it intend to fix in the judiciary?
I want to say the appetite
Yes.
for the executive to control judiciary is very high. The appetite is like having a very delicious meal hidden from you under the table by the Kenyan population through the constitution. And this is not only in Kenya, it's also in the US. Yesterday we had a Supreme Court nominee of Donald Trump being confirmed by the Senate.
Yes.
And the main thing why they're doing this is simply they want to actually make sure the
Obamacare is reversed.
And this is actually a do or die thing. It has been pushed very fast and very quickly through the Senate. The same thing happens here in Kenya. And I want to actually, and I would like all of us to think about it. We need to think about the scenarios we have had where the Kenyan government, the executive, has come head-on collision with the judiciary. And then we need to ask ourselves, if we had a compromised judiciary, and we need to start from the way, even before 2017 election, where we had the IEBC issue. I don't know, 2 weeks to election, a case that was really hot, and it was actually tensing, it was giving us a tense mode.
The one on ballot papers?
The one on the ballot papers, and the one on the there was
one on ballot papers. There was another on returning officer.
Exactly.
Yes.
And what happened is the government lost those cases to ODM. I would call them NASA. If the executive could have compromised the judiciary at that level, I would tell you today we could have actually lost this country. And I want people to not joke with this idea that the president want to have more power over the judiciary. And let's not fool each other, my friend. When you say, oh, why can't we have somebody who will think independently from the appointing power? Come on. You're given a job by somebody. From out of 45 million Kenyans.
Obviously, your work is to converse for them.
My friend.
But before you answer that,
let me finish.
Yes.
Let us not trivialize the issue of independent judiciary. Let's not trivialize it.
And as you talk about
because
that, yes.
it is one of the most important things that this country has today. Today we have a case where, and I will come back to Miguna, who has lost his citizenship for, of course, unfair reasons. And I want to tell you that a few months ago, I saw him being awarded some money by the judiciary. What we need is actually a judiciary that is very independent than it is today. But we cannot now go back another 2 steps and say now we want to start on our marks.
Hold on a minute before you go further.
Yes.
Yesterday, Donald Trump appointed that judge, obviously for reasons that are known to them because of the Obama vote. And the Republicans, that is dominated, the Senate that is dominated by Republicans, they passed that judge.
Yes.
Does that undermine the independence of the U.S. judiciary? Because there's one judge from the Supreme Court that is appointed by Donald Trump.
I think it's important.
Yes.
You need to know the importance of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Number one, all the judges in the Supreme Court enjoy what we call the tenure, the security of tenure, the security of tenure, whereby when you're elected there, the only thing that can get you out of that is death. It was very important for the Republican Party to put a judge that favors their views, their conservative views. Okay. And if you have read a few things on that judge, you will realize that she's really grounded on very conservative issues. Yes. Now, the choice of Trump getting more seats in the Supreme Court is very important because it's more like a legacy. It's a leap forward for the Republican Party, not even the
judiciary itself.
No, I mean the Trump himself. He might lose in the third November election, but you leave a very good ground with on that Supreme Court. But most of the rulings of the Supreme Court of the United States are more into conservatives and liberals.
I still have
and those are the two lines.
I still have another question.
You will not find any unfairness in the judgment.
I still have another question, and I will give it to you, Maina Kamunya, in a few.
Yes.
But there's something I want you to explain to me.
Yeah.
The judiciary, as it were, and the process even for the appointment of judges. Now we are away from the ombudsman thingy. You have a situation where, for example, the 41 judges that the president was supposed to appoint, even without his input, that his work is just to sign and declare them appointed. You're reducing the president to having no input in the appointment of the... Don't you think there's something we need to fix in terms of how the judiciary and the executive relate?
Well, I think the only thing to fix is more independence and more power for the judiciary, if there's anything. Because even the executive itself, it has shown some issues where it is actually disobeying.
Even when
disobeying. Judges... Just a minute.
Yes.
Here you win a case.
Yes.
You are told you will be awarded 20 million Kenya shillings. You go to Matiang'i or whoever is supposed to award you. He says no. You have no other place you can go in Kenya. But this is very important.
We have also heard where judges have listened to cases.
Just a minute.
Ex-party.
Let me tell you, this is very important. That the executive is so powerful because it has the police force, it has the military, it has all those people that if it comes and it says that now we are not going to obey the judiciary, this country is ruined.
Okay. You see, let me say something about what my brother is saying.
Yes.
And I think he is wrong. And don't be cowed by the crooks, the military way and the gangs and whatever. That does not make the executive powerful. You see,
Really?
and I said, and I think I need.
Police force.
I don't need to make my point. And I think
No, make your point. Make your point.
Kenyans need to understand this.
Make your point.
That law is powerful than anybody, than any organ, than any institution. Article 2 of the Constitution says that the Constitution of Kenya is the supreme law of the Republic of Rwanda and is not subject to any challenge by any organ, by any individual.
It remains a piece of
Let
paper.
me.
Hold on a minute.
Allow me to make my point. Allow me to make my point. Allow me to make my point.
Go ahead.
Because I think you are misunderstanding and you are trying to.
Go ahead.
It's not what you are saying is about perception. You usually say that even in law that we only presume that there will be independence of judiciary, but nobody can ascertain that there will be. Because it's upon the judges who are elected to be dependent, to be think independent and act independently. But nobody can come and force you to be dependent. You get the point? So what I'm saying here is, what we see and what we think make us conclude how my brother is concluding here today. Let me tell you something. Today, Article number 1 of the Constitution says the sovereignty of the people, the sovereign power of the public belongs to the president. He was elected by
sovereign power belongs
to the people.
people.
It was delegated to the president by being voted by 8 million Kenyan. You get the point? You get the point? Being elected by 8 million Kenyans, it tells you that whoever becomes the head of the organ of the judiciary or the National Assembly, where do you think that everybody who is to be appointed, the president remain the appointing authority? The drafters of the Constitution, where did they get that spirit from? What to the essence of making sure that the president is appointing authority? Because they know that the buck stops with the president. So what I'm saying here is,
but you're telling us all of them are equal now.
they are equal before the law. They are equal.
But there is one person who is presumed more powerful.
You're contradicting.
The power,
Hold on a
no, I don't mean to
Hold on a
make
minute.
no. You see, the power is delegated to the president. But the power of Kenya is delegated to the president as the appointing authority, right? But we have put on a mechanism that make sure that the president does not abuse that power, because when he appoints the judge, the chief justice, there's another organ.
Maina Kamunya, you're reading the law, the letter and not the spirit. By the fact that, hold on a minute, by the fact that you're talking about delegated power to the president of the Republic of Kenya, doesn't that make him powerful more than the other?
No, he's
Hold on a
not.
minute.
No, he's
JJ.
not. No, he's not.
Because he has mentioned
no,
me, so
I'll come
I have
to
to
you.
reply.
it does not make him powerful, because any decision that he makes is subject to the either executive, either the parliament or the judiciary.
Okay.
Because whenever he appoints a chief justice, it is not conclusive. The person who appointed as a judge must go through the vetting of the JSC.
Okay.
If you, are we together?
No,
Because-
you make it. Let him.
let me finish.
Kindly allow him.
Because
to make
any person, any decision that he makes is subject to scrutiny by a certain organ.
Okay.
You get the point?
That doesn't make him powerful.
No, it does not make him powerful. It's just a matter of perception.
It's still a question you had not answered, because I'd said we would come to you. And we're still back on this ombudsman issue. And you're saying there's nothing wrong with it, as it were. And I want to ask you, in the current setup that we are in, because you're an advocate, obviously, you should be a proponent of what you would call an independent judiciary. What exactly are we trying to fix? Or what is wrong with the current system that it can only be fixed through what we are proposing?
I think the drafters of BBI, maybe they had looked at something, yeah? And I can't remember the person who tweeted that. I think it's Malakaro or Piero Lumumba. He said that the drafters of the BBI, they carried the mind of the president and that mind of Raila. You get the point? The president have had a war with the judiciary. Wasn't
that what he was talking about?
That was is on record.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they realized the action of the JSC and the judiciary in general must have somebody else who can be able to scrutinize above the JSC. You get the point?
Yes.
That the decision that is made by the JSC can have another person who can be able to scrutinize the same judge, such that the president can have an independent organ that can be able to scrutinize the judiciary apart from the JSC. Because if you remember the 41 judges that were presented to the president were sent to, one of the reasons that he said that he raised objecting the appointment of these judges, he said that most of them have corruption cases. Their integrity is questionable.
Okay.
You get the point? But you wonder, how does the president as appointing authority question a process that have gone through the JSC.
Okay.
You get the point? So maybe they realized that maybe you need another independent body that can be able to do a similar job.
All right.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You wanted to respond very quickly so that you go to the IBC.
Okay. I think all I wanted to tell my friend is that number one, when you say the president has been given power by the 8 million Kenyans that chose him, I also want to tell you that the Chief Justice has been given power by being appointed the Chief Justice of this country.
Understand?
And all of them and their powers are supposed to be guided by the Constitution. Now, the Constitution guides the 3 arms of government: executive, implementation, and everything. When it comes to lawmaking and amendments, the legislature. When it comes to interpretation,
Yes.
right, the judiciary. Those are 3 very clear parts of the Constitution. It remains a piece of paper that you can go to it to the toilet with it if the judiciary is not powerful and it is not able to work.
Why do you need to be powerful?
Hold on a minute.
Let me finish. The executive will always have its way because it has the money, right? The KRA is still under the government.
Of course.
The
control
judiciary,
the consolidated fund.
yes, the judiciary has to execute its mandate independently so that we can have a peaceful country. That is number one. And we have had cases where the judiciary has been used. We know, and I don't have to repeat them. So I'm not going to.
JJ.
Okay.
No.
One thing.
Just a minute.
Let me finish. I want to finish before you.
Everybody
guys
was
move on.
just a minute. Okay, quickly.
I want to finish. I want to say we had a very powerful president. Very powerful.
Yes.
As of right now. Now, to make him an imperial president is we give him power over judiciary. We will have made him an imperial president that is untouchable.
Okay.
Because you love the executive, you love the military, you love the police. And my friend, let me tell you, police power is very important. And you as a lawyer, is a lawyer, yes. I want to tell you that you as a lawyer, you know maneno ya police power.
But you see,
and police power is power on its own.
Okay. It's only fair. It's only fair to make it. Yes,
yeah, in regards to what Gitonga is referring to, the imperialism of the president and the executive being overbearing, we need to understand that it's the executive that controls 1, resources, and 2, the instruments of monopoly of violence. That is the police and the army military, and many others. It's very unfortunate that Kamunya, who is a Kenyan, who lives in Kenya, doesn't know that the law does not reign supreme in Kenya. It's in this country that we have seen the executive discarding court orders. It is in this country where Miguna was evicted from this nation.
Yes.
They are being court orders to having in the country. So I don't know where Kamunya lives in. I don't know if you have just landed from the moon. The other thing, all the institutions that are kind of perceived by the constitution to be independent. For example, I'll give him a very simple example. Yes. The IEBC. What happened in 2017? And the IEBC was questioned. Yes. The independence of the IEBC was questioned. And all the appointees of the president, as it has been the norm, have ended up doing things that by and large interpreted as ways of appeasing the appointing authority. And that is why we are having these challenges. We're having the elections and nullifications and other things. And if you want to know this is the truth, look at most of the secretariat and commissioners who served in the IEBC that is in existence at the moment. I'll give you an example of Kasait. Kasait at the moment, after mangling the 2017 election, I saw the other day he got an appointment
to the data commissioner, although she's not been vetted by
Parliament. You see, I don't
make your point very quickly so that we move on to the subject.
And I want to refer my friend Getonga to go and read about the separation of powers. Just go and have a look at that doctrine. It's very clear. You can never have complete separation of power. These organs are independent and interdependent. You get? None of the organ can exist in the void of others. They have to agree to do independent. The second thing, Can you give me a precedence of a country whereby the judiciary is more powerful than the executive in the world?
Why are you comparing those two?
No,
hold on a minute.
because what I'm saying is,
Why are you comparing?
allow me to
No,
make my
let's
point.
make his
Let me
point.
make my point. In the whatever happens
Don't ask me
Kenya,
a question.
you get whatever happens Kenya or whatever happened, it's not in vain. It's a precedence. We borrow from the best practice in the world. You get the point. The current system we have today, because we borrowed from the US, right? Why is it working in the US, not working in Kenya?
So you agree the executive is powerful?
No. I'm saying we had looked at it and said maybe US has the best practice when it comes to the democracy and all these things.
Let's go to the
So
IBC.
we needed such a formula.
Okay.
But why is it not working in Kenya and working in the US?
Okay.
Because everything in Kenya is politicized.
Let's get to the IEBC. Wanjohi, do you have a problem with the setup? Obviously, that will have political parties nominate for commissioners of the IEBC, and of course, the rest are selected as we have had before. I've seen the IEBC is already up in arms, Wafula Chebukati, saying this will negate really on the democratic processes or the democratic space of Kenyans in terms of having credible elections.
Well, I have a big problem with that.
Yes.
Why? As the deputy president highlighted,
Yes.
how many political parties will be involved? I envision of a scenario whereby
Yes.
we will have a competitive process whereby qualified Kenyans who will meet certain qualifications apply. We have them vetted,
Yes.
and the president appoints them. Let's not go the IPPG way,
Yes.
because if we go the IPPG way, we'll have.
In fact, you've talked to one of them. She was not a commissioner. She was actually in charge of data, voter education at the IEBC, Immaculate Kasai. You have Margaret Mochanya, Paul Kurgat, and you also have Consolata Bucha Maina. Right now, they have been sent to ambassadorial jobs by President Uhuru Kenyatta after resigning. You don't find any nexus between their appointment and how they perform. So that you tell me, if really you're accusing somebody of representing political interests, what were these representing? If then, after retaining the president as
sitting down and deciding who will be commissioner and chair and other things, let us have a competitive process where Kenyans are encouraged to throw in their CVs. We have a panel to vet these CVs, and then the president will come and okay the people who will be.
I can let you go with that.
Okay.
Because Wafula Chebukati, Consolata Buchamaina, Paul Kurgat, Margaret Mochanya, Roslyn Akombe were actually recruited in a competitive process. And then obviously
Definitely, as a sitting where we are seated at the moment, we have very many political parties, and how many political parties will be on the table to discuss who will sit where? So the best thing to do is have a nice competitive process whereby Kenyans of all walks of life who meet certain criteria are appointed, and political parties with all their representation will come and okay the process
and still have political inclinations.
Not really. The political parties will not be directly involved in the appointment of these people.
No,
they'll just come in
and to me. There's something you say before Gitonga comes in. That the 3 commissioners that were appointed as deputy head of missions
parties and religious groups. We'll have the civil society coming on board and helping in vetting the people who will sit in this commission.
The selection panel that identified Wafula Chebukati, Consolata Butcher Minor. I can't remember the lady who was leading the
political affiliation.
Okay.
They have persuasions too.
Good.
That is the thing.
That's
So the only way we'll have an independent commission is when we go out there and fetch foreigners to come and handle our elections. That is
it was the Musundi.
One commissioner. While these other gentlemen, the Kivuitos, were announcing the president on this side, one commissioner was with the other side. And there was actually a rumor that he has the results, the real results, and he is going to announce them. This is one commission. This is one commission that we depend on every 5 years. And we need to look at this issue critically.
Okay.
Number one, while you're criticizing, and I've had my friend try to criticize the former commissioners.
Yes.
I thank them for giving us an election in 2017. Although there was a process, the ruling by Maraga was that, because if you're a citizen of this country and you can qualify to be the data manager, whatever, you can still get.
You don't think that
position.
was convenient?
I really don't want to look too much into it. Simply because all we need right now, and the conversation we should be having, is for the future of this IEBC.
Hold on a minute,
Today,
before you make your point, because
yes,
you accused Kamunya of living in a different world when he was making his own point.
Yes.
And now I'm bringing this back to you.
Yes.
You don't think the appointment of these 3 commissioners and Immaculate Kasait was not convenient?
Well, I will tell you that it might have been some sort of thank you for something, but
No.
at least now you're being honest.
I'm very keen on my words.
Okay.
I'm very keen on my words,
Yes.
because I don't want to say
You
the
must come from
president
us.
was giving them thank you for rigging him in 2017.
Yes.
We could have had a very big uproar with the other side who lost. They are very quiet. They're not in government, as they said yesterday.
They are.
They said they're not in government. They said they're not in government.
All right, go ahead.
So, me, I don't want to read too much into that.
Okay.
Whatever positions they've been given, ambassadorial positions, whatever positions, let them continue working.
Okay.
But we need to talk about the IEBC today and the IEBC of the future. The IEBC of the future that is supposed to look after the 2022 election is an IEBC that, as it today, the IEBC we have today cannot do that.
Okay.
Simply because, number one, it is not well constituted. Number two, there is a lot of integrity issues surrounding the commissioners who have remained. We cannot have two major parties deciding on who is on IEBC. We can't have that.
Have they said it's two parties?
No, they haven't.
The majority.
I think they meant parties that are funded by the.
That is
Yes.
it.
Yes.
That
Those
is
are
it.
two.
And they're not.
They can't be two.
Let's not put a veil on our neck, on our head here.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
We're talking of two parties.
Which
Jubilee and what?
ODM.
Which other party gets funding from
ANC
government?
is still getting funding.
Kanu
How
still get
How
funding.
Kanu
much?
doesn't get funding.
How much?
Kanu, as
Come
well.
on, you guys.
and actually,
Anyway, let me
well, the
finish
other
my
parties are
point.
getting, but they are getting their stream from ODM, obviously.
Yeah.
The IBC, the commissioners are chosen by the political parties.
It's only
as part.
4. I think the rest to
Yes.
go through the competitive process that he was
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about.
So I would like to tell you that when it comes to IEBC, actually the political parties should not be anything to do to go by.
Why not have players?
JJ.
Hold on.
We should
Why not have
that.
players?
And you see,
Yes.
I am happy that it's only the deputy president who mentioned that, and it was very clear that when everybody is trying to actually pretend everything is going okay, simply because they are in the side of ODM
Yeah.
or the side of Jubilee Kieleweke, there are people who can think right and ask the right questions. IEBC has actually brought us into fighting post-election violence in this country. It is very important. The ruling, that part where you say the the president-elect is this one person, can take this country 50 years back.
Okay.
And I want to tell you that we need another way of choosing IEBC. And the good thing is, this conversation is going on.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure if there is something I am going to say no, and if this BBI comes the way it is, I will lead my Manyata people in saying no and never
To the
because of IEBC.
okay, your submissions as regards the
You see, JJ.
commissioners, yes.
And I wish all of us can be honest.
Yes.
Perception. But when I am appointed to get in that commission, do I know that I'm doing this for the sake of Kenyans? You get? So it's a personal obligation when you're appointed.
Okay.
2. In Kenya, the reason why we will never have a strong IBC is because
Never.
it may take years.
Why?
Because one, before we go to any elections, I'm sure you have heard, even today as we are speaking, somebody was talking in, I think, Kajiado the other day, and they said that the government is already preparing to rig the election.
Yes.
You get the point? So it tells you that candidate is already afraid that they may not get a credible election. So if that person is given an opportunity to present a person to be in the IBC, so what will happen? That person automatically will choose somebody who is very loyal to him or her. You get the point? The other party the same. So eventually, the composition of the IBC will not be for independent thinkers. It will be for people seeming independent,
But they're not.
deep in the heart they know that they belong to political parties.
So what are we doing? You're going for full throttle?
And that's why
Yes.
you saw in the 2017, you could tell that Chiroba was for the government. So he was working for the government.
That's a very dangerous statement.
You get to the point?
Back it up.
You see? And,
What did he do?
and that's why you see the reason, and I think the moment...
Do you want to say Chiloba seemingly was on the side of government? Because if you say he was on the side of government,
Yeah.
you're
Just to
saying
back
it as
it
a
up.
statement of facts. He could actually take you to court.
I'm saying this,
Yes.
The perception that...
There's something called a fair statement.
It's okay, I know. I'm saying this, The perception is that he was working with the government. The same way you have said, those commissioners that have been awarded by the government, if you're able to look at it critically, you'll think or presume maybe they are awarded because they serve a government. You get the point? So what I'm saying here is it may be very hard for us to get the commissioners do those process because they have gone through the competitive process all the time.
So what we
But
do,
we still
we
get
go into...
we still get elections that are not credible. The reason why maybe I'll back the proposal of the BBI is they have been honest. You get the point?
With the reality.
They have been honest with the reality.
Okay.
I'll get JJ to be the commissioner, but I know JJ belongs to KANU.
Let me ask you a question.
What if
Very
he
quick
announces
one.
two results?
For example, the deputy president, the way things are going, Jubilee, if matters are to remain constant, probably he would form another party.
Of course, yes.
That is not due for funding
Yes.
until it has elected members.
Yes.
That means then you will have ODM and Jubilee nominating
Deciding.
commissioners to the IEBC. Don't you? Is that a level playing field where you have probably a strong competitor who doesn't have a say in the appointment of commissioners?
Let me tell you something, and I think thank you for that question.
Yes.
Because it opened our eyes and think this way. There was a Krieg report that proposed that we shall have a new IBC in place 2 years before the elections. Ask yourself this question. The proposal in the BBI is not conclusive, so you can still make some visions. So and it's very important that we have that question now, because we can see a future whereby we are not sure that the ODM party will still be the ODM party.
Okay.
You get the point? We are not sure that whether Jubilee will still be the Jubilee party as it is.
Yes.
So the DP may form his own party. We already know that Karoza have his own party. This other guy,
Mutua, is
has
also
his own
vying.
party. So what is the guarantee that their representative from they will have that opportunity to give their representative the IBC? And that's why you should be saying this, because the BBI is not conclusive. Somebody or a person like me should rise and tell the commissioners, you know what? I think there's some ambiguity somewhere. Tell us the time frame.
Commissioners or the task force?
The task force
Of the BBI?
Yeah, so that they are clear on the time frame.
Okay.
Because maybe we can say before the BBI goes through,
Yeah.
as you're talking, we already have 2 political parties. And the reason why you see my friend here, reason the way they are reasoning, because they are presuming that we shall go to the BBI. The way we are, we shall go to the 2020 election having the 2 political parties, the 2 strong political parties, but it may not be the case in future.
Let me ask you, it may not be the case.
Yes.
But what parties are
Understanding,
receiving party funding right now from government?
I think there are 2.
Which one and which?
The NASA and the Jubilee. You get the point?
Okay.
And that's why
So that means if we are talking about 2022, those are the ones that are entitled to.
and that's why I'm saying that's why I'm talking about the time frame, because so far we are
You're
talking,
taking the formation of the party.
yes,
The time frame.
the time frame,
Okay.
because you see the Jubilee is already divided,
All right.
and you're not sure whether the DP and the president will be the same political party
Fair
come
point, you make.
2022.
Fair point, you make.
Yeah.
Fair point, you make.
Maybe
What's
to
your
be
take?
fair on
Very
the
quickly.
BBI,
Yes.
the BBI
Yes.
team that came up with this proposal.
Yes.
I think we should divorce ourselves from thinking that commissioners and people who sit in the IBC influence the outcome of elections.
Yes.
And I wish that we should invest more on our softwares, whereby the vote that is casted in Kanyamkolo polling station, somewhere in I don't know where,
Kanyakwar.
counts.
Yes.
That is what we should emphasize on. We should not care who is the chair, who is a commissioner, who is the CEO. We should make sure that every vote that is casted, wherever, in any polling station in this country, counts.
And you and I know technology is not the problem. We had technology in 2017. I think
course.
somebody decided to mess it up.
Yeah.
Probably that's why we had the problems we had. But everybody agrees. The infrastructure of the electoral system needs to be fixed. Unfortunately, my time has run out. Can I give each one of you a minute to make conclusive remarks? Then we wind up. I start with you.
Yeah, thank you very much, JJ, for Taifa Dialogue and Taifa TV for this conversation.
Yeah.
We hope to continue with it. BBI is a big document. We cannot be able to finish it up with
Yes.
one day.
Yes.
But all the same, I would say that the conversation is good. So you feel this is good, this is bad, this is great. Let's have that conversation. And I hope the president can actually give us hope and tell us it is not passing as it is, because that is where he is actually making us shake. When he has when we have all these things and we feel this being the document, there is a need to improve. And many people, I want to correct many people who are saying that why is DP, why is this other person speaking right now, why didn't he speak when there were views being collected? And this is the thing. Before we didn't have a document. Right now there's a document.
There was a document.
there wasn't a document.
It was
When the
good
views
validation.
that were being...
There was
There was a
BBI1.
document that
There
was
was
going for
BBI1.
validation.
Well, BBI1 came and we launched it. We have the document now
okay.
that is supposed actually to get somewhere.
All right.
So we need
So
to
we will
improve
keep
on it.
venting on this document because BBI1 came. We vented on the about the document.
Wait
So
a
we'll
minute.
keep venting about the document.
BBI1 never actually got that part. When, and I want to actually challenge you, JJ.
Yes.
They came to, I don't know, they came to a place, but they came to Meru.
Yes.
I was in Meru.
Yeah.
I want to tell you.
Very quickly.
But Meru, we were not told BBI1 says.
Yes.
We were told to give
Your
our,
views, yes.
our issues.
Yes.
And we give clear issues on 1 man, 1 shillings, 1 vote. All right? So this is the time we have a BBI document that can actually be criticized, that can actually be made better.
All right.
And we should continue making it better.
Making it better. Wanjohi,
Yes.
very quickly. I'm about to reduce your time.
Yeah, the drafters of the 2010 constitution envisioned a scenario whereby they felt that the people from certain quarters felt that they were out of government, and they introduced the devolved government, whereby Kenyans from all parts of Kenya were sure that they will get resources in their county governments, resources which would be channeled in schools, in agriculture,
Yes.
in roads, in hospitals, so that everybody would feel that they were part and parcel of governance. However, now that we have the BBI with us, I want to encourage all Kenyans to read the document, not to allow the political class to sway their thinking, sway their decision. Let us also have the government make sure that every single Kenyan get their document, and the document is translated into simpler languages whereby Kenyans will understand. So read the document, interrogate it, and let us continue with this discussion.
Okay.
We're just
Maida
getting
Kamunya,
started.
very quickly.
Thank you very much, JJ. And I want to request all Kenyans, and especially from the Mount Kenya region. BBI is good. They have so many goodies for us. More money to the counties. Multiple MPs, meaning
What
more.
does that have to do with Mount Kenya?
No, just
Is it the increase? Go ahead.
So more money in the counties, that 5%. So more development, more water, more roads. CDF, multiple MPs, more CDF. We have for the youth tax holidays and all those things. The document is good. Please, whatever you feel that is not comfortable with, before it becomes a bill, make a proposal. But generally, from where I sit, from what I have read, it promises good thing and a good future for the sake of all Kenyans.
That is a fallacy.
All right. Fair point to make. Of course, it's time for us to wind up. And thank you very much for watching Taifa Dialogue. Well, we are keeping tabs on the Tanzanian elections. Tomorrow, Tanzania goes to the polls. It's John Pombe Magufuli against Chadema's Tundu Lissu. And I understand there's quite a problem in the island of Pemba, where several people have been killed. Of course, as we come down to the elections tomorrow. On Friday, I will be here to talk about the BBI again and probably even analyze the politics of Tanzania. Probably if there will be a change of guard or it will continue as it were. Obviously, why? Because Tanzania is our neighbor. And of course, in the recent months, we've not had a very good relationship because of tensions. My name is John Jacob Curio. Have yourself a good evening. God bless you.